What's going on? I'm Sam. It's been kind of a random day, but I have a few things planned. So I'm going to show up at this birthday Halloween party thing, and then we're going to go to the shop. Well, the evening went by really quickly. It was a great dinner with some awesome people. So my neighbor had approached me earlier this morning asking if I could cut this part for him out of metal. And after talking, it's going to be a hose standoff for a outside spigot. And after thinking about it for a little bit, I decided it would be better to do it out of plastic, which he agreed. I was going to use the CNC router to cut it out of plastic, but after thinking about it a little bit, I decided just to 3D print it because I can have it done a lot quicker. The router still needs a little bit of setup before it's ready, and I'll be able to draw it up in SolidWorks and print it right now. So I got to draw this thing in SolidWorks, and then I can go to Peter's shop and print it out. One of my buddies also asked if I could make some shirts for him, so I'm going to get the vinyl cutter going and make 2 shirts for him for his choral show tomorrow, and I'll get a couple bucks that way as well. So I'm done with the shirts, and I think these look really awesome. Now I gotta draw that part in SolidWorks, so I'll do that real quick. I'm not gonna get to Peter's shop tonight, so I'll start this 3D print tomorrow when I get to Peter's shop. I wanted to do a Halloween video where I made a costume or prop, but I waited too long and didn't get to make that video. Even though this video will release after Halloween, it is Halloween today, so I at least want to talk about some of the favorite costumes that I've made. So this first costume I'm going to talk about, I think I still have the head, but not really anything else. And it was an Iron Man costume that was mostly made out of paper. I forget what that's called. Let me look. It wasn't origami. It had an actual name. I thought it had a fancy name, but I guess it's just papercraft. I think it was pepakura, which is papercraft in Japanese, maybe? Pepakura? I don't know, whatever it was really cool, and I wouldn't mind doing stuff like that in the future. So I think I was in high school when I discovered this, and I really liked how this Iron Man costume looked, so I decided to make my own. All I did was simply print the design on cardstock paper, cut along the lines, fold it how it's supposed to be, gluing the paper together, and it would make the shape of the armor piece that I was trying to make. The designs were already online, so all I had to do is scale them how I needed to and print them off. Once everything was folded and fit right, I then coated everything with a polyester resin. And some of the pieces even had fiberglass as well, along with the resin. Then everything was just painted red or silver, and it turned out pretty good, though the pictures don't do it justice at all. It really did look a whole lot better in person. My next big project was this Jack Skellington costume, and I wore it at a lot of places like some Halloween events and even OhioCon, which is like a giant cosplay convention. I've looked all over for this costume, but I haven't been able to find it. I made everything from scratch, and I even bought a pair of stilts especially for it. These are Skywalker stilts that they don't really make anymore, and I think I picked them up for like $175 on Craigslist, which at the time was a whole lot of money since all it was for a costume. But these stilts are a lot easier to walk on than regular drywall stilts because of this spring. They stopped making them, and I think they sell for like $500 a set now, even if they're broken. But mine are still in really good condition, and if I really needed to, I could probably sell them for a good profit. Mine go from like 15 to 24 inches or 18 to 30 inches. Which one are these? I'm not quite sure. But I've always just left them at the lowest setting, and one of the reasons I really liked them is they're thinner in the middle than the traditional drywall stilts, which are a little thicker. But anyway, after I got the stilts, I just needed to figure out the costume itself. The pants were easy. I just got the fabric that looked kind of similar to what Jack Skellington wore from Joann Fabrics, and I sewed up the pants so that they fit my legs along with the drywall stilts underneath me. They were really messy, and if you looked at them in the light, no one would be impressed with my sewing skills at all. I even went out and bought a sewing machine just for this. I found one for $15 from Goodwill. No idea how it worked at all. I ended up taking it into Joann Fabrics, and one of the awesome ladies there taught me how to use it. I had not been able to figure it out at all and how to actually run the thread in the machine, so that was awesome that she helped me with it. The top was a little bit harder. I think I used a PVC frame like the next costume I'm going to show you, and then I used chicken wire right about here with the head coming out. It was sheets of 2-inch styrofoam that I glued together, carved out a rough spear, and then I kind of carved in his mouth and eyes, coated the whole thing with coffee filters and polyurethane, which was actually a Peter Schriepel trick that I used. And then I just threw some paint on the white and then the black in the eyes and the mouth. Now, the proportions of Jack are really weird for a person because he's really long and narrow. So I tried to keep the legs as narrow as possible. The arms were pretty easy. My arms just went here and kind of held on to rods. So I would move this way, which would be his inner arm. And then the part I was holding was his elbow joint. So then I would just be kind of moving like this, and his hands were on rods. His hands were made out of coat hangers with little foam pieces that I carved into the shapes of bones, and they turned out pretty good. I think it looked more or less realistic. The worst part about this was to get my arms to come out where his arms were. My head was pretty much where his head needed to be, so I was in the costume like this all day. And I remember at OhioCon, after maybe 2 or 3 hours of doing this, my neck was so sore that I had to get out of the costume right away. I think someone found me a heat pack, but I was in pretty much nonstop pain for hours, and I learned the hard way I should not be in that costume all day. But I got some really cool pictures with everyone there. There was another Jack Skellington on stilts. His costume would have been a little bit easier if I had gone in that direction. There were even a couple Oogie Boogies I got to pose with, and just other characters. It was a really fun time overall. And I took it to a couple Halloween events. One year I think I won first place, which was like $300, and that was really cool. The next year I think I won third place and took home $100, which again was awesome. And I ended up taking like 3 sets of costumes that second year, but I only won with the Jack costume. When I won first place, I got this huge trophy, and I still have it in a closet somewhere. I think it was first place. I'm sure that costume's still around somewhere, I just haven't been able to find it. And that brings me to my next costume, which is another tall costume, but there's no stilts in this one. So this one is a little worse for wear. I wasn't able to find his head, but there's a PVC pipe that sticks right through here with the face and the hood. It has these 2 long arms. One of the hands fell off somewhere. This one's not looking that much better. There's a joint in the elbow with this little piece of PVC I can grab and move the arms around. I sewed this fabric myself, and when doing that, I just made the sleeves so they hang down a little bit so that my arms can go up here and reach it. Like I said, I don't have a head for it, but I'll throw it on anyway, just to kind of show you how it looks. You can see how this just goes up on my shoulders, and you can kind of see how I wear it. It pretty much just clips on me like this, and I can walk around. And I haven't worn this for a few years. It's actually missing a section of PVC, but it's close enough you can kind of see how it works. And yeah, my arms are just kind of reaching up and grabbing right here. I don't have full articulation, but it does give me enough so that I can run at people and whatnot. Again, I sewed everything using the same machine, and this sewing machine's followed me around everywhere. I used it at my UAV job to sew straps to the top of our mobile ground control station for a catch for one of the UAVs. And I've also used it at Peter's shop when we made like sails for the sailboats and some other things. And now it's just kind of chilling on the shelf over there for when I next need it. It's not the best sewing machine, but for $5, maybe $15 from Goodwill, I can't beat that. These next costumes aren't around anymore, but it was a really quick build that I did for one of the Halloween competitions. And it was inspired by a YouTube video or something I had seen online where they had like 10 people with multiple rows. I just had 2 people, so I just made 2 of these, but they're a roller coaster train. And it was this big Halloween event in downtown Dayton that has a costume contest. So I roped Peter and his brother into wearing this, and they did a pretty good job pretending like they were on a roller coaster and sticking together all day. I think I had just got some extra cardboard, taped it together, painted it, and then got some of my extra pants and shoes to glue into the belt and the feet. I think I just stuffed the pants with like maybe some wadded up paper. It was pretty bad, but it did look pretty good at night. Not the best, but you know, you could tell what it was. So I guess that's about it. I've always had plans for other big projects, such as the giant stilt monster spirit things, and they go around on stilts and crutches. I had even bought crutches at one point for that, but I never ended up making them. I wanted to make a giant dragon at one point and giant robots, but I just ran out of time and moved on to other stuff. I'm still gonna look for my Jack Skellington costume, but now I have this one at the shop, so I might use it in a future project or video. I don't know. I just need to replace the head and fix the hands and it will be good to go for something else. So that was a quick look into some of the costumes that I've done before. I'm gonna go home and get some sleep because I have a pretty big canoe trip planned tomorrow. So it will be all day just spent on the water chilling. And we're gonna be searching for some buried treasure. And that's not an exaggeration. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, we're done with the video. You wanna go home? Or do you want to stay here and sleep? Come on, stretchy boy. Come on. Let's go home. Doesn't home sound good? Let's go home. Come on. Good boy. Good boy, let's go.